Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all here, and sending thoughts to those who are not here, who had to evacuate or just were not able to make it. Everybody impacted by the fire. Today, we are starting with a special prelude courtesy of Judy Gammon to celebrate everyone with a birthday in August. Pete Seeger's classic song, based on the words book of Ecclesiastes, turn, 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 to everything there is a season, reminds us that change and conflict are inevitable, yet we can still strive for peace. A time to love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late.
All right. Let's stand and sing. Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Those of you who braved the uncertainty and braved the smoky air to join us this morning. And I understand there was some confusion for some about whether or not we were opened. Please know, and particularly those who might be streaming this, that we will always send out an email letting you know if we need to close down for some reason. But understandable that folks are not out today, given the uncertainty and the anxiety and perhaps the dislocation and whatnot that people experienced yesterday. So good to have those of you who are here. I would say that today is going to be different than we had planned, right? So it's not a usual circumstance that we are in after yesterday's environmental disaster that is actually still continuing. So I wanted us to be able to have an opportunity to gather to at least start to process a little bit of what we've gone through and what we're going through today. So the services planned will be very different than it was intended to be this morning, and that's okay. We can have John Dietrich back in a few weeks. So I wanted to. We're gonna use the sermon time for a little more discussion, but I wanted to at least get a little bit of a check-in for those who would like to say something about how you're doing. You know, what yesterday was like for you. Are you okay? Whatever it is you might want to say about what you're feeling right now. So, Dan, would you mind getting the microphone from Shelley and as our usher and walking around with it? Just as always, remember to speak into the microphone. Our friends are live streaming with us. We'll want to hear what you have to say. And if you are live streaming and have my phone number, feel free to text me. I'm not going to tell you my phone number because this is being recorded and will go on YouTube, so that would not be good. But if you have my phone number, feel free to text me a line or two, and we'll let folks know what you have to say as well. So, how are you guys doing? Peggy just took a deep breath. That's helpful. Here's one up here. Thank you.
Just make sure, okay.
Well, I'm sure I'll speak for all of us and feeling very sad and upset and angry and lots of different things about what's going on. I feel very fortunate that I have been able to be just an observer of what's going on. I saw some of the first smoke from where I live looking downriver yesterday afternoon. But I've been following it on television some this morning, so this might be some information that folks don't know. I think the Red Cross opened a convention center shelter, and over 400 people spent the night there. The fire is still going. My good friend Rick, who lives way down river in Suncrest, they're in a hotel in Ritzville. They don't know whether their home survived or not. It's just really tragic, and one of my favorite hiking places, Riverside State Park, is probably totally devastated. So it's just awful.
Yeah.
And I'm just angry that we're waging a needless war.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you. Anyone else? I heard in those the language of sadness and anger and uncertainty and all the things that a lot of us are probably feeling today. Justin.
Same. Those very words.
Thank you.
I feel very fortunate because I haven't been touched by the fire, and yet I feel helpless, wondering what I can do to help so many that are now going to be in need.
Yeah. And to Doug's point, thank you for updating us on what you know. It's very difficult to get news because this is still going on, it's still being fought. Most people involved are involved in getting these fires under control and not giving out a lot of information in the process, because that's the priority. So there's still a lot of uncertainty, even though it feels right now that we've entered a day of some normalcy. We haven't. We're still surrounded by fires that, to my knowledge at this point, none of them have reached any sort of meaningful containment.
Have you heard of any injuries last night?
And have we heard of any injuries? I haven't, but
On television at 9 o'clock this morning, they reported that no loss of life or injuries either to citizens or firefighters. And there's a big crew came in. I think they had something like 100 people and 20 units working, yesterday and last night. And then a big crew came in from California this morning. And so, they're optimistic. And fortunately, the wind stopped blowing. But the wind's going to shift from the north, so we're going to get inundated with smoke. I mean, that's nice out there right now compared to what it's probably going to be tonight.
thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, sure, Gordon.
I just wanted to share a little bit too that, obviously Lynn Janishian was supposed to be here today. She gave me a call yesterday. She was being evacuated and she is up in Ponderay, I believe it is. I have not heard back from her yet whether or not there's been any damage to her property. We live in Liberty Lake, so we weren't obviously touched by it, but the neighbor across the street from me, Gary and Barb, their daughter Danny lives up on, I think it's High Drive up by the Veterans Memorial Hospital. And the fire got to within 2 houses of her property before it was contained. And luckily the Veterans Hospital wasn't touched. So there's just a lot of people that are being impacted. And you may know other people too that have been impacted in some way. So.
And we do have known members that have had to evacuate. We have some folks that were supposed to be here this morning as ushers, and Gordon says he's filling in for Lynn Janishian, who was supposed to be here. So we do have folks that have either voluntarily evacuated because it was too close for comfort, or because they were actually in a evacuation zone.
That was my question, of any members of the church.
More than I know of, I'm sure. Okay, well, we're gonna come back to this and have more different kind of conversation later on during the usual sermon period. But let's go ahead and move forward now by lighting our chalice, and this is a battery operated candle. We're not lighting a real flame. That would be too much irony, I think, this morning. So we're not doing that. But we do want to engage in this important part of our service, because this is a symbol of so much of what we need to be right now for one another and for our larger community, and that is a symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small virtual flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection today is from Alain de Botton in his book titled Religion for Atheists. We continue to need exhortations to be sympathetic and just, even if we do not believe that there is a God who has a hand in wishing to make us so. We no longer have to be brought into line by the threat of hell or the promise of paradise. We merely have to be reminded that it is we ourselves, that is, the most mature and reasonable parts of us, seldom present in the midst of our crises and obsessions, who want to lead the sort of life which we once imagined supernatural beings demanded of us. An adequate evolution of morality from superstition to reason should mean recognizing ourselves as the authors of our own moral commandments.
Okay, please stand and let's sing. Our world is one world, and we're going to sing 2 verses. One and two.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. And our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes, with love or hate we make a bridge or wall.
And we're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds. And of course, I want to kindle our candles as we have been on behalf of so many of the people around the world who are facing life-threatening disasters every day, chronically, on an ongoing basis. The people we've been naming aloud in our services for far too long now, the people of Ukraine, the people of Palestine, of Israel, of Iran, of Darfur, South Sudan, and so many other places in the world where people are facing war and violence and injustice, as well as the many immigrants in our own country who are facing discrimination and hate and dehumanization and demonization and injustices in many other ways. I do want to kindle a candle for church member Barbara Rodriguez, who I understand is recovering from surgery she had earlier this week. I'll be checking on her this week to find out more about how that's gone. And then, of course, for the fire victims in our Spokane community, in our Spokane area, whom we know of and in many cases know personally, who have suffered from the fear and the damage and destruction, but also for this whole region of the country that is also on fire right now and has been for some time, and people in other parts of the world that are also facing, if you can imagine, even worse situations with the heat and the fire. So there's a lot going on to be concerned about, and it doesn't seem like there's much we can do about it, but we can at least, as human beings, share our concern and our empathy with others. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud if you'd like. those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour we hold in our community with compassion. And I think I'm going to do the same thing for our offertory that I did for the first service. It's a relatively small crowd here today. So rather than have Dan bring the basket around and put everybody in here on the spot, since you'll be in the spotlight, if you have some extra contribution you want to make today, you can please put it in the basket on your way out today. A lot of you contribute in other ways, of course, electronically, and so just no sense for such a small crowd passing it around. But it's there if you want to, okay? But instead, I don't want to deprive you of enjoying Jackie's beautiful offertory music. So. Thank you, Jackie. That was good medicine for the soul there. We are going to have our usual time for all ages. And as always, let's see who has come this morning to help me out. Oh, hey, if it's not Bigfoot. Bigfoot, it's great to see you again. Hello, everyone. How you doing? Hey, be careful with that voice now. Yeah, so most people actually, we go our whole lives without ever spotting a Bigfoot, and you're actually becoming a regular at our services. Well, I didn't exactly plan on it, Nan. No? What's up? Well, I had to leave the forest last night. Things got a little too hot for me out there. Oh, Bigfoot, you were near the fires, were you? Sure was. Lots of smoke, lots of orange in the sky. Us Bigfoots also had very sensitive noses. You know, we smell smoke. I knew it was time to go. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So you had to evacuate. Yeah, Nan, when the forest tells you to leave, you leave. You don't stand around talking or arguing with fires. Okay, well, that's good advice, very wise. And a lot of our neighbors had to do the same thing yesterday. It's really scary to leave your home, isn't it? It is, Nan. Not Bigfoot heart was pounding. I'm sure it was. But you do remember my most important rule, don't you? Oh, yeah. It's always put one foot in front of the other. That's it. And it's the best rule there is when you got to get somewhere safe. Well, and that is how you ended up here. Well, it's good to be in a familiar place with familiar faces. Yeah, well, that's very nice, and I know the feeling, especially on after a scary day like yesterday. Yes, even when you have to leave home, it's always good to know you're not alone. Yes, well said. And as long as we're safe and we have friends, we can get through anything, even if things are going to be a little bit different from now on. And here's the thing the forest taught me long ago. What's that? Even after a fire, the forest doesn't stay burned forever. The rain comes again, the green comes back, the little animals return. It takes a while. Things are never quite the same, but we get through it. That's how nature works. Well, that is a really hopeful outlook, Bigfoot, but I'm a little bit ashamed to admit that all the fires burning in our world right now are likely caused by humans, not by nature. Well, that's true, but us Bigfoots don't walk backwards. You don't? We always move forward, and that means facing what's right in front of us, moving on, and heading in the right direction from now on. Well, that is very wise, Bigfoot. Maybe what we experienced yesterday will better help us all understand that we can't return to the old ways. We have to face what's right in front of us and finally move forward together. Now you're talking, Nan. Us Bigfoots also say, you gotta walk your talk. Hey, thanks for the reminder, Bigfoot, and thank you for being here today. We're glad you're safe, and you know what? Why don't you get some well-deserved rest? Don't go now in peace. You can go in peace, but not now. Don't go anywhere. Justin's actually leaving. Justin will be back. So, the time for all ages is not over yet. Got something else for you. No, that's okay. I like that was good. This was good. You guys know that I like to create or generate AI-generated music. I guess I'll put it that way. And I have several albums now, 10 albums with 16 to 20 tracks on each of them. And I'm not out there promoting them. I don't necessarily want, it'd be great for other people to hear them because I enjoy the music. But I just like to listen to music that speaks to me. And so to be able to say, here are the issues I care about and am concerned about and the visions I have for the future and put those into songs that I can hear and reflect on. I just love that. And one of the songs I created recently, a folk album, actually addresses those who have neglected to deal with the reality of climate change and have really impacted a lot of us in the process, because these are people that get into positions of power, and then not only do they refuse to do anything, but they actually block those of us who want to do something to change our wicked ways. And so this is a song that is about that issue. And I'm trying to remember what the name of it now is. I'm forgetting. What was it? Do you remember? Something about the rain. As long as there's rain, is that it? And I can't believe, you'd think I'd believe it, but 10 albums and 15 to 20 songs on each one. I'm going to look it up because As Plain as the Rain. Thank you. As Plain as the Rain is the name of the song. And Shelley's going to play it on the screen. I did not have time to produce it with the lyrics like I usually do, so that you see them going along with the song. But Shelley's going to put up chunks of the lyrics, and there actually is a chorus. And so if you catch on with the tune and you want to sing along, please feel free. But I think this is a very poignant song for what we are going through today. So.
Said, boy, that heat's not summer, that's the world crying out. Now the snow comes late and the rivers run thin, yet some folks still swear it's the way it's always been. You can say the sky ain't blue, you can say the rain ain't wet, call the mountains made of paper, call the ocean just a threat. But the fire on the hillside, the silence where the songbirds flew, tells me turning from the truth won't make a single lie come true. There's a stump on the hill where a tall pine grew. I carved my name in the bark back in '92. Now it's dust in my hands when I walk up there. Still I hear people laughing, nothing's changing anywhere. You can say the sky ain't blue, you can say the rain ain't wet, say the fever's in our heads, that there's nothing to regret. But the coral bleaching white and the fields burn through and through tells me closing both your eyes won't change what sunlight does to you. What will I tell my daughter's son when he asks me what we've done? Did you fight for the trees and streams, or did we sit and argue over shattered dreams? Oh no, you can say the sky ain't blue, you can say the rain ain't wet, say the rising tide's a story that the shore will not forget. But the forest turning ashes and the hunger cutting through tells me turning from the truth is a debt the sky is blue.
As we move into a few moments of quiet meditation together, I offer these words from Iris Murdoch, who believed that morality begins not with rules, but with learning to truly see another person. Art and morality are, with certain provisos, one. Their essence is the same. The essence of both of them is love. Love is the perception of individuals. Love is the extremely difficult realization that something other than oneself is real.
Okay, so I'm going to read a poem for you all, and Jackie's going to underscore. And it's called On Religion by Khalil Gibran. And an old priest said, "Speak to us of religion." And he said, "Have I spoken this day of aught else? Is not religion all deeds and all reflection, and that which is neither deed nor reflection, but a wonder and a surprise ever springing in the soul, even while the hands hew the stone or tend the loom? Who can separate his faith from his actions, or his belief from his occupations? Who can spread his hours before him, saying, this for God, and this for myself, this for my soul, and this other for my body? All your hours are wings that beat through space from self to self. He who wears his morality but as his best garment were better naked. The wind and the sun will tear no holes in his skin. And he who defines his conduct by ethics imprisons his songbird in a cage. The freest song comes not through bars and wires. And he to whom worshiping is a window to window, but also to shut, has not yet visited the house of his soul, whose windows are from dawn to dawn. Your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take with you your all. Take the plow and the forge and the mallet and the lute, the things you have fashioned in necessity or for delight. For in reverie you cannot rise above your achievements, nor fall lower than your failures. And take with you all men. For in adoration you cannot fly higher than their hopes, nor humble yourself lower than their despair. And if you would know God, be not therefore a solver of riddles. Rather look about you, and you shall see him playing with your children. And look into space. You shall see him walking in the cloud, outstretching his arms in the lightning and descending in rain. You shall see him smiling in flowers, then rising and waving his hands in trees.
Wow, thank you both so much for that. That is one of the most beautiful ways of saying you must express your faith through action as has ever been written, and I don't think I can imagine it being heard any better than the combination you just brought. So thank you both so much. You're both so talented, and that was just beautiful. Yeah. So I want to preface, I want to open it up a little bit first for some conversation. But I would preface, speaking of faith in action, I had a couple of suggestions yesterday about opening the church up as a place for people to come to who have been evacuated, which is a very nice thought, but there are some immediate problems with that. The first of which is that one of the big fires is just a half mile up the street, right? And so it doesn't make sense to have people who have evacuated their homes come to a place that might likely be evacuated. Two, we're not really set up for this. We don't have all of the resources in place we would need to accommodate a big crowd. We should also recognize that the first location at the community college, which was referred to by the news as their small gym, was not adequate, and they needed to take them down to the actual convention center, where, as we heard earlier, 400 or more people had to spend the night. And fourthly, and most importantly, and I think this is the piece of it that we can work on if we really want to. Now, you may recall just last month, coincidentally, we had somebody here who works with the disaster relief in our own county and talked about potentially becoming a resource for them as a church, something we'll need to talk about more. But that involves some planning. It involves having a plan in place. It involves knowing what we need to pull something like that off. It answer questions about who's going to staff this, who's going to be here to open up the doors, and be here with folks. What do the rules say about how many we can have here in those staying overnight in those situations? There's a lot to that we don't know. And so if that is something we would want to do with our space, we would need a group of people committed to making that happen to answer some of those questions and come up with that plan. And that is something we can do. And I think it would be something that we should do, given the state of what we experience and are experiencing right now. The other thing we could do, we're in an election year, And I'm incredibly troubled, have been for a long time. I mean, I've watched this disaster unfold like many of us throughout my lifetime. And we've known this was going to happen for over a century when we discovered how greenhouse gases work, really back in the late 1800s when so much science and technology was advanced. And due to the success of Rachel Carson's book in the 60s, President Richard Nixon responded to really the biggest environmental demonstration in American history, probably in world history, by creating the EPA as well as other organizations and environmental protections. And the Republican Party actually invented environmentalism, right? Richard Nixon was probably the most significant environmental president our country has ever had. And Jimmy Carter followed soon thereafter and began. He said, let's slow down on the interstate so we're not burning as much fossil fuels, and symbolically put solar panels on the White House roof. And then when Reagan ran, in opposition to Carter, he poo-pooed the environmental movement, removed those solar panels, and by the time his running mate was running against Al Gore, he was poking fun of Al Gore for being an environmentalist, calling him Owl Man, this sort of thing. And from that point on, the Republican Party really seemed to make part of its platform the destruction of the environment. Rather, let's not take care of it. Not only will we not take care of the environment, but we're not going to let anybody else take care of it either. And so this is where we're at. We could have prevented the worst from happening with Richard Nixon and with Jimmy Carter. We could have done what we needed to do to stop these kind of things from happening, and we haven't. And in an election year where we have a person who is going to be either continuing, perhaps continuing to represent our state in Washington, who is in the same party as a president who has continued to say that global warming is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on mankind, we need to publicly ask that candidate, in light of this disaster that we are experiencing now, if indeed he too believes, like his party's leader, that global warming is a hoax, and that unlike any other nation on the planet, we have to revive fossil fuels. I think this is an important thing that we must do. It's not a political thing. It is an ethical thing we must do. We must publicly let this representative know our concerns and question them about their intention and how they are going to work to try to begin to turn things around the best we can, if not for us, for the children of the future. So that's kind of a little brief preamble. I do want to take just a few minutes to, again, open it up to what you might be feeling or thinking about. I do ask you to be respectful of time so that others who might want to share would have a chance to share as well. But whenever we're facing a crisis like this, just like we did with COVID, and after a certain person was elected the first time, we had a big community event where we had a service where we just let people talk. So I want to at least open the space for you to speak, to contemplate, to be quiet, to be in community with one another, because that's one of the few things we do have that we can do, that we do well. We don't have to have a plan in place, because that's pretty much what we do. We are a community of people. So over here to your right, Dan, and then.
Can you speak to whether, like, after yesterday, being anxiety all day, and then a lot of us wake up or go home, and you're relieved to see that your loved ones are okay, or your house is okay. Can you speak to whether it's okay or appropriate even to find thankfulness even amidst tragedy like this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that any emotions you have are appropriate. The particular expression of our emotions is what determines whether or not we are behaving appropriately or not, right? But we can't really control the feelings that come over us. And I think it's really important to be honest with ourselves about what we're feeling so that we're not creating some sort of suppression in ourselves and, come up with a complex and then it comes out in nasty ways. I mean, it's one thing to be angry, it's another thing to hit somebody. It's one thing to be selfish and it'd be another thing to take what others have that doesn't belong to us, those sort of things, to treat others unjustly. So I think any emotion is appropriate. And I always look like feelings, I describe them as being like waves. Emotions come and they go, and that's our life. And that's mostly who we are. That's pretty much how we go through life, with these feelings, right? And then there's some part of us that somehow tries to make sense of our responses to our experience, our emotional experience of the world. So absolutely, to be thankful that my home didn't burn down was important. And to be selfish in the sense that I was going to stay home yesterday and worry about whether or not we were going to need to evacuate. And I wasn't going to come to the church and unlock it and try to figure out how to open a space for others, right? So there's just times where you have to make those decisions. But feeling relieved and feeling grateful and that, geez, my home didn't burn down, but then that almost automatically leads to empathy and remorse for those whose homes have been lost, and the feeling of, wow, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. What can I do to help relieve or help those who have had something tragic? So I do think it's just a matter of how you express your emotions more than it is the emotions themselves. But I would say, and Candace is a psychologist here, I see her nodding, that we should be able to have whatever emotions we have. I mean, would you agree, Candace? Yeah.
To answer the question, I think it's long overdue. I come from a similar tradition that you do, evangelical Christian, and they've been preaching from the pulpit forever, and it's getting louder and more strident. They're front and center trying to make it a Christian nation and all the rest of it. I think it's time that, we stood up and be counted, definitely. And I'm willing to participate on that at the drop of a hat, actually. I mean, it's something that is long overdue in my book. I mean, we really do need to get more involved. And even in elections, I mean, you could do a sermon on what's his name, Baumgartner. I mean, he's a piece of work. He's a real piece of work, and you can do a real job on him. But that's another conversation.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'll do an actual Baumgartner sermon, but I might get in trouble for that. But to the point, I would say that there are an awful lot of Christians out there that are preaching and advocating for the environment. Not all of them, but certainly there are a lot who have taken their religion to indicate we should subdue and control the earth and not care much about it. So, okay.
Well, Todd, I'm feeling a little bit uninformed, which I don't usually feel. But is not our governor a Democrat, Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I heard you say that something about that and indicating that he was on the side of Trump or something like that.
No, I was talking about another political candidate whose name I did not mention, but somebody else recently has.
Okay. Okay, that's basically, I was wanting the clouds to disappear like everyone did. We just survived a disaster. I think this whole community is thankful to the feds, the state, those tankers dropping water everywhere, watching our phones to see where it's spreading and all of that, that our own contribution of being alert and caring. My neighborhood of Peaceful Valley, everybody was making sure that everyone was counted for and okay and not worrying. Anyway, that's about all I had to say, but I
Thank
usually
you.
go on and on.
Just one clarification so that as I understand it, now the news has been patchy and it's even patchier in my head, that the disaster is not over, right? These fires have not been contained and they're still burning. So we have cooler temperatures today and low wind right now. So that certainly is helping, but the last report I've heard is that they've not been contained in the slightest. So we are still in the midst of a disastrous fires. Okay, Justin has his hand open, or up, I should say. One hand's open, the other's up.
I saw a YouTube video a couple of days ago, which fills me with hope, about a program which already exists by dumping nothing more than used clamshells and oyster shells back in the ocean, which sounds like nothing, but this program started in 2008. And because of these clamshells and their calcium content in the ocean, there's incredible reefs now growing all over Florida and other states, which start by the fact that the calcium in the shells starts this biochemistry, which within 4 years, these incredible reefs are growing all over Florida, New Jersey, and other states. Not only does it clean up the ocean, because it creates these artificial reefs made out of used oyster and clam shells. There's reefs growing all over, which are cleaning up huge portions of ocean. And what's more, I see the potential for a virtually unlimited food source, as long as there's calcium in the ocean, which has been there since time began.
Thank you.
All these spores gather on these used clam shells, and now these reefs. This is not theoretical. This is taking place. So if you're interested, there's a video on YouTube about this restoration of the ocean taking place by dumping used clam shells back in the ocean.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, I think you see the conversation sort of shifting from the emotions, which is important. That's what I want us to do too. To geez, how do we respond to this? Is there any hope? Is there reason for hope? Is there any sort of action we can take that is meaningful? Because this is overwhelming, right? We all looked up into the sky yesterday and saw just, the whole north side of town looked like it was burning, and knowing that it was behind us as well. And then, of course, the issue of climate change that we are deeply in, it seems like an overbearing situation too. Is there reason to hope? And you gave one example of something that is happening right now. One of the things I reminded people of during the first service is ours is the only country on earth that is against addressing climate change, is against green energy and renewable energy. Most of the countries, including the major countries, including China in particular, are all going green. And so we're going to be behind the times. We're going to have to catch up. It's hurting us economically because we're not getting into the technological, the advantages of being part of a technological industry that is booming. But at the same time, we have to look beyond our nation and recognize there is a response that is going on globally to climate change and global warming, and that's reason for hope. And there are also things that we can do to escalate the changes that we hope to see occur in the environment, once we start committing our energy and resources to that, that can create some of the exponential change. You know, the problem with thinking linearly is, geez, it took this long to destroy the planet, it's going to take this long to repair it. Not necessarily so. We just have to get our act together and start to make it happen. So I think there are real reasons for hope. There are solutions out there. There are a lot of people that are working on this, not just ignoring it. So I just want to make sure there's not others who might want to say something that haven't spoken yet. So yes, we have Sue up here.
I just want to say, if you haven't voted, vote now.
There's an activist. I want to make sure nobody has said, Todd, this is so-and-so. Okay. Oh, here's from Sue Watrick. She says, I evacuated with the dogs yesterday, but came back this morning. My neighborhood is fine, but it was frightening, then heartbreaking for the people who have no home to return to. Thanks for this service, Sue. So you're welcome, Sue, and thank you so much for joining us today and being part of it via text. So, and Sue, thank you for your very most practical comment there. So, did we have? Oh yes. Okay.
I just have one question. I did this yesterday personally with the fires raging around. I got a bunch of towels and soaked them and put them out on chairs on my lawn to evaporate into the air and help add humidity over a long term versus just spraying water. And if each of us does something little like that, it can make an amazing change. You know, maybe start using your dryer less and hang clothes to dry. That way it cuts down on your ironing.
Great suggestion.
And,
I mean, and what if we all started an evaporation movement and went out and
hung
wet
you know, if you
towels
hung
out
your
every
clothes
day?
out to dry,
that'd be
that's
awesome.
You know, because you're doing something, even if it's just a little thing. And I didn't even know if it made any sense, but to me it did, so I did it. You know.
That's great. Thank you. So we'll do one more here, and then we'll, unless there's anybody that's just.
It's important to realize that we have exactly the energy policy that the billionaires love. I mean, it turns out enormous amounts of money to very few people. And there's very few jobs except in startups, you know. I mean, it's just, I mean, we have the perfect billionaire energy system. And I think that that's an issue that we've got to get behind. I mean, it's just, it's crazy what these guys are getting away with. I mean, Trump is the biggest grifter that has ever occupied that office. I mean, he's just amazing what he's able to do. And, you know, I mean, we just sit back and watch this crap happening.
Yeah.
And it's no fun at all. No fun at all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely, there are definitely some folks out there who have perhaps bear more responsibility than the rest of us. But we have to, again, always consider what is it that I can do? Because there are the things that we have power over and the things that we don't have power over, and we have to focus on the things that we have power over. So anyway, this was a good start. I hope you are feeling not better. That's not the point of this. The point was just to help you feel perhaps that you're not alone, that we're all in this together, that there still are reasons for hope, and that we will get through what we have to get through. So thank you all so much for being here. We will now have our closing song and benediction. Yeah, good. By the way, I should thank Lynn Janishian and Gordon. So Lynn Janishian had came up with the readings for today, but because she wasn't going to be here, she asked Gordon, who was so kind to come in and read them. Always, I mean, talk about a person with an excellent reading voice and presentation, but between your talent and Lynn's words, they've been very meaningful today. Yeah.
Okay, let's please stand and sing Just As Long As I Have Breath, and we'll sing verse 1 and verse 2. Just as long
Our benediction today comes from a Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Todd Eckloff, in a sermon from 2023. Let your values take you away from your religion before you let your religion take you away from your values. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.